All right, back again. The boat's painted, and I never got a chance to get out in the woods on the way there or the way home. That painting the bottom of boats sucks, man. Especially when the ground is that crushed gravel and kind of damp spots. Anyway, blah blah. My little bitch session, I got her done. What else? While I was away, Sarah went and met a friend of mine who is my friend, also taxidermist, and picked up a big blacktail buck that I had shot a handful of years ago. I decided to get him mounted on the wall to appreciate him and relive those memories. And she picked that up, as well as there's a huge black bear I shot with my bow 2 years ago, I think. I think I shared that with you guys. I think I shared the bear hunt story on the other channel. Didn't go as smoothly as it should have, but shit happens. Got on my bow. I think it took me 3 years to connect with him finally. Anyways, I got his rug back. And the thing is so big for all of you out there who are a hunter and familiar with bears. I actually laid it on the floor to compare it. To show, it's hard to show how big a bear actually is, right? Any form. But I laid it on the floor beside a 8 3/4 foot polar bear. I compared a black bear to a polar bear to show its size. I'll share the pictures here. For the curious. Upstairs in the house. Now, let's get into hear some people fresh off the press, all right, this morning? Shall we? Fresh off the press. This is an email sent to us titled Seeing Bigfoot as a 15-Year-Old Boy. It's May 12th, and I'm sitting here in my living room in Mexico, where I now live, and I'm watching your video, and you said that you've seen it as a boy, so I thought I would go ahead and tell you my story. I was born in central Iowa, on a farm, and at 5 years old, had a lever-action BB gun, also had a knife and a hatchet combo that hung to my knees when I had it on my belt. At age 6, at Christmas, my folks gave me a single-shot lever-action .22 short. The next year in the summer when I was 7 years old, my mother, where she worked, bought a 16-gauge single-shot and gave it to me. I can't remember how many days after I did the chores, I would saddle my pony and take my dog with one of the guns, usually the .22, if not just my knife and hatchet, and off to the back part of the farm, 360 acres. What a hoot! To go messing around, and I wouldn't return until after dark. I can relate. All my father ever told me was, don't mess up or I'll give you a beating that you'll never forget, and break your gun. Never took me out to shoot it. Show me anything about it. At 8 years old, my mother divorced my father, and Mom, my old sister, and I moved to South Texas. She married another man. A good stepfather. Oh, lottery ticket. I had 2 new friends that knew how to hunt, and so the 3 of us convinced their folks and mine, which weren't too hard to convince since they knew me. My stepfather would take us out Friday after school and drop us off out in the country, back then known as Texas Gardens, full of orchards and irrigation canals with just our shotguns, and we would survive. No shit. Shoot rabbits, birds, whatever we could eat, and we would until they came to pick us up at that same spot Sunday late afternoon. Imagine the drive to pick up those kids. Well, you think they're going to be there? Do you think they survived? Guess we'll find out. South Texas was great to grow up. You could go hunting or fishing every day of the week, year-round, pretty much, and I usually did with a couple of other friends. All right, enough about me. So, you know I've been hunting for a while already, and I do know animals and the sounds they make, the tracks they leave when I go hunting for them. At 15 years old, I was hanging with 3 other friends. We had a stupid idea to run away from home to go to Florida and work on one of the friends, Joe, uncle's shrimp boat. So one Monday morning, the 4 of us take off in Steve's sister's car that he took without permission. So off we go. I'll try to make a long story a little shorter. After 2 days, we start getting worried that the police are looking for us. Our parents are worried. Everybody's got an APB out on us, so we start taking back roads to Florida. No shit. What do you expect? You kick a bunch of kids out in the woods with guns and let them run wild? They're gonna be wild. Thank God. That night we're on the back roads in Mississippi. I remember late afternoon, we was driving and actually seeing a working prison chain gang working on the side of the road. We stopped at a little convenience store out in the middle of nowhere, got gas and an 8-pack of cinnamon rolls to eat that night, and that's all we could afford. We were driving down a dark farm to Market Road and found a little area to pull over and park for the evening. We were all sleeping. I'm on the passenger side in the back, and I don't remember exactly what time of morning it was, 3, 4, 5, but something woke me up. I turned to my left, looked over at Doug and seen something large and dark step over the barbed wire fence, which was right next to the brush line about 20 feet from the car. At this point, I truly didn't know if I was dreaming, sleeping, or awake. I blinked my eyes, and the next thing I realized, it is standing right next to the window by Doug. And I hollered, "What the F?" After that, everything happened so fast, but what I remember correctly, I said it is an effing Bigfoot. Doug is awake, screaming the same thing. The car moves, I think from us startling it, and it pushes against the car. The next thing I realized, Steven is already awake, got the car started, dropped it in drive, and is punching it out of there. Turns on the headlights. The next thing I know, I'm leaning forward, hollering at Steven, who is already doing 100 to slow down. Doug and I are all screaming. It was effing Bigfoot. It had to be. There's nothing that could have moved that car like that. We did not stop driving until we got to Florida and went down on the beach and parked for the evening, and we all started talking about it once we built a fire. Steven and Joe even asked if I shook the car like that to scare everybody. So I went over and could not shake the car like that, even from the outside. And Doug is also saying it was 4 inches from my face. But in reality, all Doug and I could see was the lower body. We talked about it for hours that night around the campfire, and we didn't even eat that night. I'm not sure they told their families. I told mine, and everybody just shrugged it off like, yeah, you're seeing things. You've seen things. That evening, for me, changed my life. Ended up, the other 3 friends, we grew apart after about 6 months of returning, never really talking to each other much after that. That's a sad pattern, right? I continued to hunt and fish until I was 60. I'm now 67. The reason I stopped, 2 bad knees and a busted up right shoulder. But I never went hunting or camping without being armed. Even when setting up blinds in the summer, scouting out places, always had a pistol. Always. Not that it would have done much good, sounds like. But it made me look at things different. Even fishing offshore. I'm always thinking about all the possibilities that could be out there, since these guys do exist. What the hell else is out there realizing that at 15... what the hell else is out there realizing that at 15 really did suck? Because I knew what I seen that night. In about 1 minute. Nothing will ever change my mind on that. And P.S. a couple of times hunting outside of Johnson City, Texas, I did feel like something was watching me a couple of times down by the river. Never heard or seen anything. I'm actually glad I've never seen one again. Hell, that's my story. I love your channel. I think we're brothers from another mother. You made comments that I have made exactly on a number of things. Once again, comes down to common sense and truth. RKD. There you go. Welcome aboard, my man. We're in the same club, side by side. It's a sad pattern when everybody drifts away from each other after sharing these experiences. That really kind of bothers me a lot, actually, because it's not fair. It's not fair. It's a motivator, too, to make sure everybody gets heard. I kind of got laughed at yesterday by a friend again for this topic. I didn't reply. I don't give a flying shit. Keep talking out loud. I do not give a flying shit what anybody thinks. The truth is the truth, and it shall be shared, no matter who can handle it or not, or can. Reference material. Title of this short email: Steve, been with you since your first launch. Your efforts have helped everyone immensely, and I'm grateful. The one thing I took from Dr. Footprint's obfuscation of the subject that's helpful is a part of the Roman Lucretius Carus's book De Rerum Natura, written in the 1st century BC, describing humanity as split into 2 tribes. Homo troglodytes, Sabe, uses no tools, hunts with sticks and stones, stays in the wilderness, no clothes, hairy, so on and so forth, an offshoot from us. Just as the First Nations people knew, the Romans had encountered everything in their world. After 50 years of puzzling, my certainty was cemented by your efforts. Respect you tremendously, Bill Osborne. Bill, appreciate you, man. Respect's right back at you. I appreciate the kind words. They live in the forest, hunt and everything, but there's that big chunk that we all don't get to hear about quite clearly yet, is where do they go when they vanish before our eyeballs? It's a pattern, can't overlook it, no matter how bad you don't want that to be true. Here's another short update from... It's fresh off the frying pan this morning. Steve, the story you read 2 days ago from Dave in PA was in your book. After reading the story in the book, I realized that Dave and I had Sasquatch encounters 3 days apart and just a few miles from each other. I sent my story in years ago, but I never heard it read on your channel. Here are the artist pics from Sibylla. Oh, okay, so we got the pictures that weren't attached. All right, I'm going to have to remember to attach these in the video. And they sure got the shoulders on them, don't they? Sure got the shoulders. Interesting. The silhouette sure looks freaky familiar to me. All right. There you go. Shared. Next email today is fresh out of the pan with Eyes and Eyeshine is the title of this email to all of you. Hi, Steve. I listened to your Mother's Day video last night and would like to comment on your questioning about how they seem to want to see our eyes. You alluded to others among us, and I'm right there with you on that. For several years, I drove in a professional capacity. Much of this driving was done at night, in people-dense places. Now, most people know that animals' eyes give off an eyeshine in the headlights. The only reason I avoided hitting a moose one night was because I caught the glimmer of its eyeshine. But on the flip side of this, humans' eyes don't do this, or they aren't supposed to. Well, during my many travels, I ran instances where there were people who had eyeshine in the headlights. Ooh, no shit. On the few times I had to interact with some of those people, they seemed predatory and definitely spooky or off. Their energy was almost animalistic. I spoke to a few others about it at the time. Several theories were spitballed, but there are no answers. Everything from possession to lab created, even various shapeshifters. Anyone's guess is good because I don't know. I just know that it's not a normal human trait. No, it's not. That's alarming. And that's going on a shelf in the back of my bean. You can share the above. Please don't share this part. Oops. All right, I got you. Hold on. All right, got you, Carrie. Thanks for that email. That's a creepy one. That is a creepy one. Now, if, who knows what, but if that's the case, if there are some kind of offshoot human beings mixed in with us, and their eyes are reflecting in the lights. Now, if these other people we are aware of are checking our eyeballs to see, let's just say, scenario, if we are us or them, what's their reaction if it's them? There's a big question mark, right? If that's, we're just coming up with some kind of scenario and seeing if it fits. You never know. I don't know, but it's all we got a lot of the times. So they're sneaking up on us to the campfire. They're trying to get as close to us as possible in the woods. They're following us, whatever, until they finally get a dead-on lock on our eyeballs without us knowing it. To see what? To see if we are us or them. So the big question is, what happens if it's them? Then what's the next move? You know what I mean? Very interesting. And creepy. So anybody else out there professionally driving, please do me a favor and email me and let me know if you have noticed any human being's eyeballs flashing back at you in your headlights like a deer. And let's just see if there's a pattern out there, alright? I'm definitely not questioning Carrie's validity. I'm just wondering if we can get some other people to chime in and let us know what else has been going on and if there's a solid pattern out there. And if there is, woo, right? Then how do we tell who's who in daylight, so to speak? Another rabbit hole. Another one. There's not too many rabbit holes at this period of time in our existence, is there? Man. Update from Mary and friend. Sweet. Looking forward to this. Thank you so much, Mary, ahead of time. Hello, Steve. I wrote into you twice now with the activity around my cabin. In my last email, I told you about the super nice Native American lady I met, and I sent in some pictures of some footprints. My new Native American friend doesn't want me to use her name. And after talking with her, she said she was staying at a cheap little motel while she was up here taking care of her brother's business after his passing. So, I offered to let her stay here with me until she got done. And she accepted. Oh, that's great. And new friends are created. We have become quite the team. She's helped me here, and I've helped her clean and paint her brother's house to sell. And we heard you read my last email where her mother calls and talks about an elder with stories about being friends with a Bigfoot. And after that, you told us someone else who had written in with similar stories. So we tag-teamed. Her on her laptop and me on YouTube TV. And we found 2 videos from a man with the exact same story her mother told. So we went into detective mode, and she called her mother to see if she knew who this was. The man said he was the grandson of the elder. Her mother said she did not know the family and had grown up down the road from them. She said most of the family had passed on, young and old, but she knew the 2 youngest daughters of the elder were in their 80s and still alive. Oh, interesting. And said she was very interested now, and she would call us back. She found the grandson. She had her niece take her over to see if he would talk to her. She said he was in poor health and pretty crippled up. He did invite her in. He said he did remember her from when he was a kid, and it was good to see her. She asked about the stories his grandfather had told about the Bigfoot, and this led to 3 hours of swapping old stories. Golden. She said we had told her about your channel and you calling him out on who's lying. He said he could see now how you could be confused, and he sent a follow-up email to clarify, but you wouldn't read it and resorted to calling him a pussy. Sorry, that makes me laugh. Or, he said you could have sent him an email if you had any questions. He said he really liked what you were doing and respected it and didn't get the same respect back. No, he did. He got lots of respect back. And I didn't email him calling him a pussy either. I just said exactly what I shared with you guys. Who's lying to me? One or the other. That's all I said. He said he knows his time is short and felt he found a place to tell his grandfather's stories. He just wanted people to know that he just wanted the people to know that the Bigfoot are people and they are intelligent. I would like to hear the email he sent that you wouldn't read and make up your own mind. I'll definitely dig it up because I don't deny reading emails, right? All this Bigfoot stuff is a lot for my mind to handle. It seems like it took a lot of guts for this man to come out with what he has. Not something you hear about every day. And you asked me about what my friend's mother said the Bigfoot said about the past. I would never be able to do it justice like the ones who heard it firsthand. I'll give a quick overview. This is from what the elder told my friend's mother. The Bigfoot live much longer than we do, and they go through different growing spurts throughout their lifetime. So a very large Bigfoot can be hundreds of years old. To start off, according to the Bigfoot, dinosaurs didn't die out millions of years ago. There was once very advanced civilizations here. And by here, I mean the Americas. There were many types, or maybe races, living here, including the Bigfoot, and some I'm not sure were human or not. I'm not sure of the timeline, but it sounds like maybe over the past 1,000 or so years, invaders came and disasters hit. The elder said the Bigfoot called some of the invaders as the strange ones. The last of the natural disasters was the earth began to vibrate and rumble. This went on for days. Some of the land lowered and sank and some rose up. Some of the land, the water began to bubble up and turn into large mud flows covering large parts. It sounds like this didn't happen too long ago. The survivors of the invaders and disasters went back to hunter-gatherers to survive, and this is the people the Europeans encountered when they got here. It's a lot for me to get my mind around. I asked my friend's mother if she knew of any of this history, and she said she heard the creation stories, but for the most part, most of what she learned was when she was in the government school, and it's whatever they wanted us to believe. Right? So that's some of the history in a nutshell the Bigfoot spoke of. My friend's mother could tell it and go into so much more detail. This is just some of the parts that stuck in my head, and like I said, me and my new native friend have become quite the team, and she wanted to add some before she heads back to her home. So I'll turn it over to her. Hello, Steve. I'll have to say I've fallen in love with your channel and the way you deliver each story. A+. I'll keep watching. Sweet. Appreciate the kind words, and hello to you back. But right now, I'm going to speak to you as a native grandma, and what I've told my kids and grandkids. Resorting to calling people childish names has never accomplished anything. Come to find out, I know this native man, and know him as a very kind and giving man. He has done and given a lot for the community, and I did not know he was in such bad health. I'll have to go by and see him when I get back. No matter how you want to play it out. You did call him a liar, and later on you called him a pussy. You say you read all the emails, but you didn't read his email explaining a picture. Who's lying now? You just called him a pussy for the email, but you wouldn't read the email. Read the email. Let the Howtohunt family decide. Let the people comment if they want to hear the email. The way you have treated this man is exactly why Native Americans hide the past away. And he took a chance to share his knowledge before he passes and the knowledge is lost. Not such a place safe to share. You talk about thinking about moving to the U.S. You're welcome, but just some advice. You go around calling people a pussy here, somebody's going to call you on it and want to see what you got. We Native Americans fought and died for our land. We didn't run. And now that things are getting a little uncomfortable for you in Canada, you're ready to tuck your tail between your legs and run. Here. Doesn't sound like a great white hunter, not scared of anything you make yourself out to be. I've heard men call her the men who run away names. I think one starts with a capital P. A pussy. A real man would stay and fight, but if you do move down, stop by and I'll fix you and Sarah some of the best fry bread you ever had. And read the old man's email. All right. Just to clear up the drama that's brewing here, which I'm not a fan of drama, and I explain myself quite clearly. And I hope you saw the email, the video where I explain myself clearly. We do get, how many emails we had here? There's been over 30,000 emails. We've had a lot of people write in trying to throw us off. A lot of people email in, try to disrupt, and a shit pile of emails of people threatening me. All right? And just so you know, this pussy has actually sent out his address to these people who threaten him to come on over. Nobody seems to show. The kind native man who emailed us sent us great written stories. To the point it was written so well, I'm like, wow, it's almost like it's reading out of a book. And he shared a photograph that was taken by a guy who I know, and claimed it was in that email that he shared the photograph. He said he would not share the name of the native guy or the reserve it was taken. I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of odd, because I actually know where the photo was taken. It was in British Columbia. And I said it, my delivery and speech was exactly the same as right now. And I said, so who's lying? One or the other? As anybody would. And then I received an email from him saying that I spit in his face and called him a liar. And for me, that emotional outburst from anybody, I don't give a shit who it is, that's acting like a pussy. Or what we are also today refer to as a Karen. And for me, I wasn't raised that way. I was on a commercial fishing boat when I was 16. From there, I went straight to a frickin' tar and gravel roofing crew, and on and on and on. And then next thing you know, I end up in the mountains on horseback chasing down wounded grizzly bears for a living. I don't like pussies. I don't like people being pussies and sniveling. I've grown up in a world where there's no room for snivellers. Okay? So the man instantly got his back up, said that I called him a liar, which I did not, and said I spit in his face, which I did not. I just fully explained and repeated again. You can look back in those emails of how I delivered. Well, who's lying to me? One or the other. There's a difference. Right? I could have took him by name and said, "You're a liar." That's what spitting in somebody's face is. Just so for all the confusion out there. When you spit in somebody's face and call them a liar, you go, "You lying bullshitter. Puh, you're a liar. Why are you lying to me, you pussy?" That never happened. I've never done that to anyone here. I have resorted to calling people pussies when they act like them and dive into offended culture, which I've said I don't know how many times. If you are a member of offended culture or support offended culture in any way, you're not safe here. That means if you come here sniveling and acting all offended, you're going to get called a pussy, because that's what you're acting like. End of rant, end of ramble. Yeah, I'll look for his, I'll find that email that I would not, and then another thing too, for somebody to tell me, you refuse to read an email. Bullshit, I refuse to read emails. You guys can tell when I read them all here every day and I hit the grammar and everything else. I don't refuse to read emails. Okay? So we clearly have somebody's feelings are hurt, and I've made it absolutely clear that I've got a tough time coddling men's feelings. I don't care how old they are. I've never been in a feelings coddling world ever, and I don't coddle feelings. Call me a dick. I don't care. You know what I mean? It is what it is. People got to keep their shit together and their emotions together, because currently we are raising generations of offended little pussies. Offended. Need safe rooms. Oh my God. You know what I mean? It destroys society. It destroys us. It would destroy our coffee table here that we all come to as we all sit here bullshitting amongst each other equally. Right? So there you go. I'll dig up and I'll try to find the lost email. I can't remember his name. But there you go. No one was insulted and no one was called a liar. I asked, which one's lying? One or the other. And that's it. End of story. Now about me being a pussy? See, I'm not a member of offended culture. I don't give a shit what anybody calls me. And believe me, I have tried to find my army, find my brave people. They're not here on average. They're not here. Our country's falling apart. I am a very loud voice. I'm not scared to say shit. I'm not scared to do shit. I beg the army to come and find me. They're not finding me. There's nobody. It's not happening. Even out of the close friends I have, the amount of people that even repost truth on their social media, they're too scared to because they're too insecure. They ain't gonna fight for shit. Running to the U.S. with my tail tucked like a pussy. Not the case. More like, I found people who will fight. I'm in. I'll fight with you guys in a second. That's not a pussy either. But I don't have to prove my manhood. I'm trying to explain. You got a little bit of emotional rip there. I retorted. Now, maybe I'll take a minute out here. And how can I find that guy's email? Don't even know his name. Give me a minute. All right, found it. I'll do this one time. I'm normally not a supporter of the drama shit, right? I explain myself clearly, but here we go. So this was the reply. Didn't I? Okay, hold on a sec. Here we go. Morning from Hawk. Good morning, Steve from Hawk. This is the man who said his grandfather basically grew up with the Sasquatch person. First, I'll address the moose picture, which you said previously to this email you weren't going to share the name or where it was, right? Which I respect all that all the time. So I'm going to read this email. I'm not sure if he wanted me to read this email or not, but because you just asked me to, here we go. I pulled into the gas station to get gas. An old friend of mine who was highly respected, and I would dare say has spent more time up in the mountains than you and me combined, had finished up gassing up. I pulled up on the other side of the pump. He leaned out his window and asked if I was still into Bigfoot stuff, and I told him, yep. He said, check out this picture of a moose about 20 feet up on a tree he had just got. He handed me his phone, and as soon as I seen it, I knew I had to share it with you and the people. So I gave my email and asked him to send it to me, and he did. I assumed he had taken it. I shared it with you and the people, fully thinking he had taken the photo. Then I seen your video saying you knew who took the picture. So the next time I seen my old friend, I asked him if he had taken the picture, and he said no. His son had just sent it to him. When I seen him at the gas station, he said he thought his son got it off of Facebook. So I made an honest mistake. And for that, you called me a liar. No, I didn't. You got my email address. You could have asked me, hey, what's up with this? You seem like a real stand-up guy. You have your morals and standards that you live and stand by. What's going to be your reaction to someone outright calling you a liar? It had to happen lots. I don't snivel about it. I'm not going to judge you. You've taken on a huge and I believe important mission with your channel. You also asked if I'm reading from a journal or something. I don't need one. Growing up on the res, we didn't have a TV. The phone was a group line, and it seemed like every time you wanted to use it, somebody else down the line was already using it. We hand-washed clothes and hung them on a line to dry. We only got enough electricity from the line to light one light bulb in the kitchen at night. We cooked on a wood stove. We spent many hours surrounded by family and friends. Sometimes we would drum and sing. Other times we would tell the stories. Back then, many people had forest people stories. Oh, see, you know what? I didn't even read this far. As soon as I read you called me a liar, I probably, as my typical reaction goes, because I'm a hard-ass prick, I would have went, oh God, here we go. And I just replied with, I didn't call you a liar. End of story. I'm out. It doesn't take much for me to drop emotional outbursts. So I'll keep reading. Other times we would tell stories. Back then, many people had forest people stories. Most good, some not so good. I remember a lot of them. I heard my grandfather's stories hundreds of times, and I had lots of questions from my grandfather about his stories. They're etched into my mind. I've never forgot them, and I think about them often. I wonder about my grandfather's forest friends and if they are still up there, and if they're okay. Some things I have forgot. My grandfather did tell Scar's name and what his people called themselves, but I can't remember. When I send you in an email, I take great care to get it as close to what my grandfather said. It takes about 2 hours to finish one email, and every time after I send one, I remember something I forgot to say or add. Like I told you before, I've never told people about this before. It can be a pretty rough crowd to bring this subject to, when everybody you know is a tough old rancher or roughneck or logger. I'm not trying to sell a book or promote anything. I didn't want any recognition. I've watched your channel a long time and debated if I wanted to open up about what my grandfather had said. You highly promote it as a safe place to share your stories. Like I say, Steve, I'm not judging, especially after you got burnt over the Edgar thing. Did I get burnt? But you did call me a liar. That's like walking up and spitting in a man's face. Well, I'll say it again, I did call you a liar. And I replied to you with an email that said, all I said with the reply was, I didn't call you a liar. I said, who's lying to me? One or the other. And off the drama went. Do I owe somebody an apology? Do I feel I do? Nope. Not at all. Because I didn't insult anyone and call them a liar. All right? And you're welcome to email back. There's thousands of people here that want to hear your story. You're not being judged. You're not being called a liar. I'll call anybody who snivels a pussy. That's just, and I've always have. I always will. I'll call my friends pussies when they snivel. That's just the way I roll. And believe me, I'm a lot softer now than I have been growing up. If anybody, like I've said in the past, if anybody knew my life story, they'd probably start crying. So when somebody calls me a pussy, it makes me laugh. All right? I won't get offended. I can't. I can't get offended. You threaten me or come to my home and threaten me or people I love and protect, then we're going to get emotional. We're going to get it on. But there you go. So, the door is wide open. The drama-free door is wide open. All right? And to the kind lady who emailed in and not promoted, but got me to read that email, there you go. Now you've got both sides of the story, okay? That's very important for a lot of people. You always got to get both sides of the story. It's amazing how many people in the past I've come across. Like I remember one of the most nastiest examples of not hearing both sides of the story of my life was when my mother's big, bully, piece of shit, alcoholic, power-mongering husband came and looked for me and told me flat out he was going to smash me into the ground and break my jaw again. Because I got a steel plate right here from being another stupid right. And I just had the braces out of my mouth from that. He came to assault me and told me flat out he was going to pound me on the ground. And it went the other way. And I gave him a lifetime of let's just say I gave him, when we were in court, the 10 by 8s or 12 by 8 photos, color photos of him in his underwear that the judge had in his hand were pretty nasty. And what happened after that, because most manipulators know how to do it, the word was from my mom through to me through my sister saying, well, we're not going to tell the grandparents about this. We're just going to keep them apart from now. I'm like, okay, I don't give a shit. And I kept my mouth shut. And you know what happened from not hearing two sides of the story for me? I finally went and saw my grandfather, and he told me, Father, he goes, just so you know, your grandmother said you're never allowed in this house ever again. Didn't get to hear my side of the story. That's how badly they were manipulated. The truth came out later on, but still, I never got to see my grandmother again. She died. And I never got to see my mother again. She died as well. So there you go. That's a pretty rough, nasty example of not hearing both sides of the story. All right? So, for you, ma'am, and anyone else listening, before you go off in tangents, make sure you hear both sides of stories. All right? There's always two sides. And then you can try to make sense of what really went down. And again, do I have any apology owed to anyone? No, I don't. Would I love to hear from the kind man again? For sure. Do I want to hear from anybody if they're going to be sniveling and support offended culture? Nope. I don't give a shit what they got to share. I will not support offended culture in this lifetime. It's not going to happen. All right? So there you go. Anybody who come here, you got to man the F up, be honest, be kind, and be tough, because this topic, speaking about it openly, requires tough and honest and no soft emotional outbursts. It does. It just does. Right? And I think this is the first time and hopefully the last time I ever have to address hurt feelings and drama, because I just don't have it in me. All right? Looking forward to hearing back from Mr. Hawk again. You said you grew up around ranchers and roughnecks and loggers, and you should be able to relate to me, right? There you go. And I have not insulted anyone. I've insulted some bad sons of bitches here, lots. But I do not insult people who write in. I share their emails word for word. Now, was that a misunderstanding? Possibly. Whatever. It is what it is. Moving forward, getting on with it, right? Share what you got, or not. Now, I'm going to read one more. This is from a good friend of ours who has emailed in a lot, has dug into everything around the world a lot, been around the world, been to the Vatican digging, knows a lot. And he's, excuse me, chiming in again. Dumb About Dogman is the title of this email. Hey, Steve. My denial was very strong regarding Dogman. I'd read about the land between the lakes incident, and just when I was a kid watching a horror movie, it scared the hell out of me. To me, it was over there and didn't happen very often. I knew Sasquatch were in the area by then, but Dogman was a frickin' myth. I would go up my road to a heavily forested area after rains to get pictures of fresh Sasquatch prints. It was heading into dusk a little. I parked the car and went over to the side where I would walk, where I would go into the ravine. I was walking towards the entrance trail when I passed a huge laurel about 10 feet back from the sidewalk, just at the edge of where the drop to the ravine began. Under the laurel was an area of messed up ground, like something had been pacing under there. I just figured coyote or something. No sign of a kill, just really messed up, sandy ground mixed with a thin layer of soil. I decided to investigate further. I couldn't see any good identifying prints, so I looked around the perimeter of this messed up ground. And as I sat there staring at this very clear print, my heart came up into my throat. In front of me was the oddest print I'd ever seen. It had a narrow heel, about an inch wide. From there it widened quickly. The print was kind of a V shape. The width of the widest part was around 5 inches. The front foot pad ended, and in the front there were 3 pads about an inch out from that pad ending. These had long claws. On one side, about an inch back from the rest, was another clawed pad about a 45-degree angle to the side of the foot. It came out of the side of the foot an inch back from the rest. The whole print was about a foot long to the claws from the ankle, or what I think could be a combination ankle/hock. There were other prints to compare to once I found this one. I knew right away what I was looking at. This was not a double bear print. Nope, not even close. It had come up from the ravine. It had pushed a stick into a burrow. The stick still had mud on the end it was holding onto, and the other end was deep in the hole. It was 3 feet long and an inch in diameter. I think I interrupted whatever this thing was doing. I'm standing there thinking about the land between the lakes incident. My heart is racing. I'm asking over and over, what the hell is this doing here? And as I had only been going into the field for a couple of months at that point, I was seriously considering hanging the whole damn thing up. Who needs this shit? Not me. F this crossroads time. But the curious part of me was right there the whole time. So I decided to go home and think it over and give it some time. The next day I decided to look back at some of the ancient texts I had copies of to see if anything was mentioned there. I started with the Book of Giants. I ended with the Book of Giants just an hour later. Steve, how many times have you looked for something so obscure and found it right away? Some of my questions took a decade to answer. I was used to doing a lot of work diligently just to get something that was in range, let alone be specific. My jaw dropped when I read this. It answered so many questions all at once. It took me a year to start talking about it to others because I was certain people would blow it off. Since then, I've entered into the world of DNA studies because I knew the record by itself would not be taken seriously. But with corroborating DNA, it would be very difficult to dismiss. That's when I reached out to Melba. Winter 2017-18, and here's that passage again. These fallen angels knew the secrets of all things. At this time, sin was great on the earth. The wicked angels killed many people and begot giants with mortal women. The wicked, formal angels consumed everything that the earth produced. The great fish, the birds in the sky, all the fruit of the earth, all kinds of grain, the fruit of the trees, even beasts and reptiles they committed sin against, all the creeping things of the earth. They observed/watched all earthly things. They performed every harsh deed with harsh utterance upon male and female creation and upon/among humanity itself. 200 angels had been persuaded to leave heaven for earth. The 200 angels sized 200 donkeys, 200 asses, 200 sheep, and the rams of the flock, 200 goats, 200 beasts of the field from every animal and every bird, for experiments in inbreeding with humans and all types of miscegenation. As a result, monsters were created among all the perversion, due to mingling animal seed with mortal women, similar to Egyptian gods, satyrs, and possibly even dinosaurs. The historian Josephus mentions that Enoch had business in Egypt then called Syriad. The monsters sought out flesh which would be destroyed or perverted. Monsters and giants would rise who were lacking in true knowledge because they were abominations. Meantime, the earth grew even more corrupt, and the giants more mighty. They considered trying to persuade the other angels to come upon the earth, otherwise their tyranny might ultimately perish and die. All the time they were causing great corruption in the earth. If this aim did not suffice to perpetuate them, they would be finally destroyed, they believed. The fallen ones defiled all creation and begot giants and monstrous creatures, and corrupted all the earth, which was defiled by bloodshedding at the hands of the giants. But this did not suffice them, and they were seeking all the time to devour/destroy many/much more. The monsters attacked all creation. Commentary. The fallen angels did all of this. Who were they? When did this happen? Are there other historical records that cover this? Exactly what is the Bible and what is its history? Were there earlier or later versions of this event? The questions go on and on and on. Nothing is accepted at face value ever. I need verification. I'm still working on it. But since this happened in 2017, I've learned a lot. I have zero problems leaning into these passages. What happened? 200 angels decided to come to Earth? The reasons are recorded in many various writings by scholars. It is not my place to opine on those writings. I defer to the writings of the scholars, some of which can be found at the virtual Jewish library. Why there? Because the scholarly works I sought are found there. It is an incredible resource-rich website that does not shy away from the controversial and deep historical events that apparently are off limits online in the Christian world. What does the Vatican have? That is where the secrecy on the matters originates. It was the Vatican that removed books and scrolls that were previously part of the biblical texts, strong-arming the Jewish community to go along with it. Then, as this usurpation took place, the books became non-canon, not of religious significance. The snuff was complete. Efforts to destroy copies of the texts occurred, sending out people to find and destroy these records so that only the Vatican would have them in unavailable archives. But kind of just like the globalist BS we have going on today, people got wind of what was happening and resisted by hiding the records away. Some of the records were just too far away to reach, like Ethiopia. The Vatican didn't get them all. The passage above was taken from fragments of a scroll from the Dead Sea caves and verified with the Ethiopia records and other sources. The Dead Sea Scrolls were just found accidentally after World War II. That part is important, Steve. While some of our human DNA is in these creations, the vast bulk of the DNA is not us at all. We have given to this experiment our mitochondrial DNA, which is like the motor and the brain and the cells for keeping that cell alive. Signaling and cellular needs are occurring through that mitochondria function. But our characteristics, appearance, and physical attributes, including hereditary and health, all come from our nuclear DNA, and that DNA comes from both parents. There are mitochondria in the egg cell and the sperm cell. The reason it is called the mother's DNA is because when the sperm enters the egg, the tail is shed off the sperm, and the father's mitochondria is in the tail. It does not get passed by the father, just the mother as it is already in the egg cell. It provides cell energy and communications for cellular needs. At the point of fertilization, though, both parents have given the offspring nuclear DNA. and the kids are going to end up looking like both parents and have hereditary from both sides. The vast bulk of the nuclear DNA in the Sasquatch is not normal. It is not from us, nor does it comply with anything else on the planet. The one person qualified to make that determination, the person who helped establish the protocols for cataloging and archiving animal DNA, is Melba. There is a program that is run to look for matches in the animal kingdom. And as you know, there are some controversial aspects to the nuclear DNA. Animals have been found to be in some of the nuclear DNA. This will get sorted out over time. One has to look at the obvious physical characteristics. Whatever else is there that we are unaware of or showed up in a DAN, I think typo DAN comparison, the physicality of the specimen says a lot. DNA comparison. And although they are not all the same as many of us have noted, that is likely due to intermixes since the original effort, or due to newer mixes. The last statement has serious weight. The bulk of the nuclear DNA is not at all what we expect to find here on Earth. Most animals here share a lot of nuclear DNA similarities, so when we see something so out of the park, like the nuclear DNA in Sasquatch, and compare the findings to what is said in the records above, one thing becomes clear. It likely was exactly as stated. The way my mind works is, well, if that's the case, then there are similarities between, say, Sasquatch and other animal hybrids. Another thought that come to me, what about the giants that preceded the Sasquatch and the animal hybrids? Does a pattern emerge between the giants and the large hybrids at all, or are they completely separate from each other? And here's what I can say of now. Dogman and Sasquatch do show a pattern as much as a pattern can emerge this early. It is preliminary but strong. Both have human mitochondrial DNA, maternal only. And that DNA can be traced. From what I understand, the Sasquatch specimen tested had mitochondrial DNA that originated from the Middle East area between 13 and 15,000 years ago. That is when the lineage of that Sasquatch specimen originated. This is determined through what are called haplogroups, groups that had similar DNA that tend to cluster together in cultural or ethnic groups. There's a database indicating the various groups and where they existed and for how long. So, Dogman and Sasquatch are similar, indicating the beginning of a hypothesis, or a guess that this work to create these things was formulaic. It is only the beginning. It is not a statement of fact. Do not quote it that way. We need to test the giants. They are like the control in this, and this has to happen. This next statement is critical. Regardless of the similarities, we have to keep something in mind. Sasquatch could turn out to be something entirely different from the other animal hybrid creations. I'm not lumping Sasquatch in with other animal hybrids. They are fundamentally different and probably happened at a different time. If you reread the passages of the Book of Giants, it is talking about the animal hybrids pretty much without mention of a Sasquatch-like creation. The fallen ones created all of these things, from the giants to the Sasquatch to the animal hybrids that are big and often walk on two legs, but not exclusively. Instinctive reversion seems to happen often, and they revert to quadruped. Jeffrey Meldrum explained that one. Because it is written that these were created, and I know from research that cross-species viability many generations long does not exist. There are only two answers. Either these continue to be created all the time, and each creation is a single generation, not likely, or these interspecies creations have not too many issues lazing thousands of years without intervention or genetic upgrades. And given the sightings of young Sasquatch, and even some younger Dogman types, I think the answer is that these are viable over many, many generations without intervention. Given that, I conclude these hybrids were the result of highly developed methods of genetic engineering, with extreme precision, meaning that none of these creations from the giants onward resulted from some non-compatible genetic base, the fallen ones, mating with human females. If that were the case, and this is critical, there would be a substantial human nuclear DNA approaching 50%, and that is just not the case at all. Instead, the only solid human DNA is found in the mitochondrial DNA, and that is 100% human. It had to be placed. It had to be added or spliced in. Some human nuclear DNA has been seen in specimens, but it is but a small spattering, and it could have resulted from Sasquatch mating with humans. We know they try to do this from time to time, and I think it has to do with the viability of a given lineage breaking down with and sterility setting in either the male or the female. I've done the work to sort this out. It wears me out. I'm too old for this shit, but here I am. The DNA work continues, and as you can see, it does not happen with the snap of a finger. The only other people looking into this are scientists working for the federal government. And they get paid well, and have signed agreements to never let out what they know. We are doing this so that the public can be educated and be on equal footing. Bravo. That is why I continue. So, anybody who dares to put down this work, you come to my house and let's have an effing talk, because I'm tired of your bullshit. Got that, Jeffrey? Or I'll come up to Idaho, I don't care. You have a lot to answer for. Does he ever? If you give him the attention, you just got to kick him to the curb. Kick him to the curb. All the people that have been keeping people going in circles and lying to them, just kick him to the curb and we keep smashing forward, right? But anyways, absolutely appreciate that email from you, my man. Keep us updated. You've put a lot of years of fierce digging into this shit. Holy cow. Keep going. Keep going. There you go, you guys. Take from it what you will to leave it. And if you got a true interest, you can look for those receipts. They're all available, right? There you go. And a email today. What am I going to do now? Well, my brain, usually when I leave here, my brain absolutely chews and munches on everything I have just read as I go about my chores. I'm going to go do firewood. I can do all sorts of shit. I got to put more fascia wood on the other side of the chicken coop. I got to do firewood, more firewood. Haven't even stacked it yet. I've just been bucketing it, splitting it, piling it up. And then vowed to make sure the horses get rode again today. And then that pretty well should put me into a coma this evening. What else? I think that's about it. One quick mention, though, for the man Hawk and Mary and your native friend. How about this? To be fair, I did what you requested, no problem. I'm going to request that one of you, or all three of you, send me something to show me that you are who you say you are. How's that sound? I mean, let's face it. For all I know, that you could all be one person who is an absolute skilled writer and creator of fiction, and you might be bullshitting me. You never know. How do I know that? Do you know what I mean? And I've never done that before, but I feel a little bit, what would you call it? I got called out in a way or something and called names. Whatever. But to back up who you are and make sure this is all legit, why don't one of you or all of you send me your social media links? And I've proven in the past that I am absolutely true to my word when it comes to privacy. I won't share shit. But I think I probably deserve that from this one incident, don't you think? Show me who you are. Back it up. Show me a receipt. All right? And that's a friendly request. And if you don't, what's that called? Okay, we got another double. How many doubles is that today?
3.
Well, I can't really reel and can't really reel. Well, that's a big one too. Look at that.
Good.
Whoa. Okay, hold them there. I'll see if I can get mine up.
Okay.
They're both biggies. Got yours here? Oh, there they are. They're me. Oh, look at that. Oh, yours is bigger. Oh. Bring it over again. Here comes mine. Wait, hold on.
Oh, I'm upside down.
Look at that. How cool is that?
Oh, wow.
Double jiggers. Again. All right, let's get him off so we can catch another one.